Hello and welcome. And in this video, I want to go over Bitcoin, not really the charts, but that of what does Bitcoin mean to me? What are my thoughts about it? What did I think about Bitcoin in the beginning? And I'm going to start it within a parody, as I find it to be a very good one for how I first felt about Bitcoin and how it is in play today. But then after the conclusion of the parody, talk about it, well, in a non-parody level. And ever since I first remembered Bitcoin was not for me, it just wouldn't fit in. I was never one for pretending, and everything it intended to be, it just wouldn't settle in. They told me what it was, and I turned my back on it, as it seemed dangerous, and I was scared. I got the feeling that Bitcoin is very much dark and such, then the problem lied in me. It's only a currency with a blockchain to guide it. It's taking a stand to escape the banking Ponzi's. A monster. It's turned into a monster, and it keeps getting stronger. This is a parody from the song Monster from Imagine Dragons. And when I do remember the early days of Bitcoin, and I most certainly do, I couldn't even understand how something like this, how it existed, really even what it was. And is this something that is actually real? Is this something I should be buying at 50 cents or $1? And I do remember looking at the Bitcoin price when it was in at those much lower prices. And then, of course, as the years went on, well, things changed. I started to learn a little bit more about it. And I'll get into that in a little while. But as far as the monster label, it does seem as if it fits that within the cryptocurrency that it is taking a stand against the central banking debt-based monetary system. And it looks like it's going to do pretty well in the near term. As when I look at terms for monster, these major moves and how it's affecting everything, that's why I would give it that kind of label as well. And during the run-up, which occurred in 2012, 2013, yeah, you could say that it definitely caught me off guard. But when this occurred, there was all about the Mt. Gox, all the Ponzi scheme talks were coming into play, and the price kept on declining. Now, this move in here never occurred, or it might have occurred. For a while, this site was not showing this move on the Bitcoin charts. It all of a sudden did today. You can find it on another site as well. But anyway, I was starting to realize that into this period in here, that there was something interesting going on with Bitcoin, whether I liked it or not, which is why I used within the parody song that the problem lies in me, and that I really never ever did give it any kind of chance, especially when I talk about mathematical creative gambling. And this is a measure in which you can do such and trying to make gains. And well, so far that has been the case. I don't know how Bitcoin is going to transpire, but as I see it, if there is even a modest chance that Bitcoin does extremely well, does something in the nature of like becoming a world's reserve currency or anything of a similar magnitude, then I'm going to want to get myself a little bit of exposure to such. And that's why I like the diversity in more and more different things. But really, I never could give it much of a chance, of course, until most recently. And I've heard people, but more particularly, I think it's Tizen from on YouTube talking about a Bitcoin maximist and somebody who's all about 100% into Bitcoin. These other cryptocurrencies don't matter and everything, stuff like that. I do not see myself anything of that nature. If anything, maybe a silver maximist to a degree, but since I promote diversification, not even really. I am a diehard anti-Federal Reserve style debt-based monetary model system in which is in play. I am so heavily against that I could not see how anything can change me away from that. So at this time frame, what is there to pretty much bet against that type of system? Well, gold and silver work very well. The problem with gold is the ratio is way out of hand with silver. So I don't own much gold. But as I've been growing on throughout the weeks and months, I realize that if you have diversified portions and you have a little bit into cryptos and play it to the degree that the risk associated is not life-changing on the bad side, because it most certainly can work out to be life-changing on the upside. With, of course, putting in something you would use to play a big poker tournament or vacation monies, things like that. Something extra funds that you can ill afford to let go, or you can't afford, or stuff that you can take the risk towards. And the big gains can come into play because myself, I have noticed that ever since I started trading these cryptos, that buying silver in here with cryptos is really easy. It's much more better, but I do like the new functions that the cryptocurrencies have. But when it all comes down to it, I look at cryptos heavily like I look at motor vehicles or anything new that came out, that future developments of such destroyed its original creation. Meaning, I think the blockchain technology, as we move well into the 20s and into the 30s, is going to destroy what we have now, that what the crypto space is so primitive today. That's really how I'm looking at it. And it's a very new monetary style model. So how can it not be in the primitive levels? And within such, having those monstrous kind of moves. It's a monster, Bitcoin is. Well, that can happen again within these infancies of such as true early original modern price discovery is being set right now. Okay, so I just wanted to go over that within this particular style. I would have no idea how these cryptocurrencies are going to eventually play out other than continued volatility of both up and down movements to continue. I think there's a very high chance that decent gains will come in the near future. At least I'm playing it for such via very small silver withdrawals and very small liquidation out of the cryptocurrency account. And I do think if it does do any type of major bad bubble because it's a Ponzi scheme, if it ends up being one, anything of that nature, well, if that's the case, I think there's a very high chance that it's first going to have some tremendous runs higher because like the tulip many moons or years, decades ago, that before the price crashed, it got very, very high. And this was a situation when their currencies were devalued overseas, that these actual tulips were being used as money and sold for insane prices. So therefore, is it going to be like that? Well, who knows? And even in a situation, you could state that maybe Bitcoin would be good. It could get bought up to those insane levels and be forced to go back lower. Really don't know. And that's the thing. When you don't know, that's when diversification, I think, is very, very important. But I'm very confident that the debt-based monetary economic model on a global level is, I think, coming in kaputs, which is where I think that precious metals and cryptocurrencies, at least in the early stages, are going to do very, very well. Thank you for watching and have yourself a great day.